everybody. Welcome to Life After Mental Illness. I'm Bill MacPhee, your recovery expert. And recovery is when you wouldn't want to be anyone else other than who you are today. In today's vlog, I'm answering 3 questions. I'm answering a question from Gordon regarding schizophrenia management. I'm answering a question from Maurice who asked about smoking and schizophrenia. And then I'm also talking about a letter that I got from Allison talking about work and employment issues that she was having. So hopefully you'll stay for this vlog and come back tomorrow when I will be showing a presentation that I did for the Schizophrenia Society of St. Catharines. I did a speaking engagement for them, and we're going to be sharing that a little bit with you tomorrow. So come back then. So remember, recovery is when you wouldn't want to be anyone else other than who you are today, and there is life after mental illness. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Hey, hi everybody. Welcome to another vlog. As you know, I mentioned that I'm going to answer some questions in this vlog, and I have 3 questions from people, and so I'm going to answer that. So we'll jump right into that. So this one question is from Gordon, and Gordon asks, he says, Dear Bill, people talk about anger management and stress management. How about schizophrenia management? Well, Gordon, that's what recovery is all about. Again, you know, my definition of recovery is when you wouldn't want to be anyone else other than who you are today. And basically, when we talk about schizophrenia management, I look at it as the Bright Future program, and it's a program that I developed that's based on the 6 pillars of recovery. And in this Bright Future program, if you go, I do recovery coaching, and I take people through personally this recovery program called the Bright Future program. And again, it's based on 6 pillars of recovery. So before you get into the pillars, or before I explain those pillars, I want to tell you that it's very important to understand your illness, to understand your mental illness. And if you go back into the archives of these vlogs, you'll see where in one of my vlogs I talk about understanding your illness. Very, very important. So then, management. Okay, so anger management, like you said, anger management, stress management, schizophrenia management comes when you are able to manage the 6 pillars of recovery. And the first pillar is spirituality, just basically understanding that there is a God and that God is for you and not against you, and you try to seek truth. That's where we get our hope from. Once we have our hope, then we can move on. So we have hope, and then the second pillar of recovery is around relationships. And the goal in relationships is to bring out the best in people. And nobody is an island. Nobody has ever done it by themselves. We need to have help from people. We need each other. And that's what relationships are all about. And then we have family. And the goal in family is to basically create a sense of belonging. That's the goal in family. And it doesn't necessarily have to be your own family, your blood relatives, but it can be people that you know, people that you invite into your life, your friends who you want to call your family. But family is very important for many, many reasons. And then the 4th pillar is mental wellness and physical wellness. And the goal in there is to want to live as long as possible and as healthy as possible. And then you get to the next pillar, which is finances. And the goal in finances is to get out of debt and build wealth. And then the last pillar is work, volunteering, and careers. And that's the goal there, is that we should be doing something that we love. And it's very, very important. So when we talk about schizophrenia management, that's how, in the long run, we will manage our illness once we develop the pillars. Once we go through the pillars and understand what they do for our lives, the importance of them, and then just like stress management and anger management you mentioned, Gordon, we have schizophrenia management through the Bright Future program. Okay, moving on to the second question. Let me just grab this. Okay, so this question comes from Maurice, and Maurice says, Bill, congratulate Hannah on her award. Thank you, Maurice, for mentioning that. And I interviewed Hannah, and she's on a few vlogs back. You can look at. She got an award. But anyways, Maurice asks, he says, any insight on research on smoking and schizophrenia? Have clients discussed? Well, Maurice, I got to tell you, you're going to be surprised about my answer here. And I'm sure all of you out there are going to be surprised about my answer on this. There's always studies, and the bottom line is that smoking is probably not good for you health-wise. This, in our Bright Future program, this falls under the category of mental and physical health. And the goal in mental and physical health is that we should want to live as long as possible and as healthy as possible. And doing that, obviously, smoking is one of the things. But here's what I'm going to say. You know what? I want to just sort of sum it up here and then give you some real hard truth. Let's look at smoking and schizophrenia. I'm going to say there's probably bigger fish to fry. And this is what I mean. In mental illness and physical, we should want to live as long as possible and as healthy as possible. And we have to look at the big picture, and the big picture of the Bright Future program and all those 6 pillars. So what I want to suggest to you, Maurice, is that it's very, very hard for people to give up smoking. Sure, probably 100% of us will say it's bad for your health. Absolutely. But you know what? I'm not going to harp on somebody, and I'm not going to say, oh, you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't be doing that, because you know what? Part of the pillar of mental health and physical health is being in shape too. And look at me. You look at me and you say, well, Bill, you know what? You're definitely not in shape. You have quite a few extra pounds. And the truth is, yes, absolutely I do. And, you know, they say I have a lot of belly fat. And they say that's one of the for heart attacks, that's an indicator there. I got to tell you, I'm at an age, I'm going to be 55 in October. And I've struggled with my weight my whole life. As a kid, I was always, you know, husky and big boned or fat or chubby, whatever. I was always. I've gone many times, I've lost weight and I've put it back on all the time. So you know what? I fail in that aspect of the pillar of physical and mental health, the physical health part there. Okay? There's emotional stressors that trigger my eating or what I eat. There's psychological, there's biological, there's medication, all those kinds of stuff. The bottom line is that I can't even lose my weight knowing as much as I do about recovery. It's just a fact. So I'm not, Maurice, so your clients and the people who you talk about smoking, I'm not going to harp on them and say, oh, absolutely, you got to smoke and everything. You got to go. Let's look at it this way. Let's get our ducks in a row with the 6 pillars and get our, as Gordon mentioned, our schizophrenia management under control. But I'm going to leave my weight problem to the very last. The last thing I work on when I'm in the right frame of mind. And I want to suggest, Maurice, to you that your clients who smoke and everything like that, it's not bad. It's a waste of money, most likely a waste of money and everything, but people need it. So I would say I would say work on your other pillars, work on your life and the different pillars, and have a goal to say, when I'm at that right spot, this is when I'm going to quit, and this is when, that. Because really, I could say, oh, smoking causes cancer, and you're going to, and you have all kinds of health problems, respiratory, and it's a dirty habit, and it's uncleanliness, and all this kind of things. Your hands get stained, you have nicotine stains everywhere. But you know what? Like I said, I'm big around the stomach, and I could have a heart attack anytime. So, you know what? I'm not going to harp on it. Okay, so I think you get my point that way. My point is, Maurice, is that there's probably bigger fish to fry than the smoking. Sure, it's a waste of money, but a lot of people are addicted to it, and it's very hard to quit, and some people get enjoyment out of it. Okay, in saying that, work on other pillars and work on that you're smoking at a later date. There's bigger fish to fry. Okay, I'm going to move on. So did I surprise you? Send me an email. Go at bill@billmcphee.ca and tell me if I surprised you at my advice to more recent smoking. And then also, if you wanted to go, you can go to billmcpheerecoveryexpert.com and you can send me an email through that website as well. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next question. And this is from Allison. And Allison says, "Hi Bill, happy Easter. Thank you for the vlogs. I've learned so much. I just wanted to send you some information regarding myself. For your information and also for some assistance, if possible. I have schizoaffective disorder. I have a high IQ also, which makes me think I can work. I experience symptoms at work and also in social situations. I have had about 10 jobs, some good ones, since 2009. I only last 2 to 3 days. I think I could only work part-time, but I'd like to become self-sufficient. I worked for 10 years after my diagnosis, but not anymore. Also, I have tried to attend NAMI meetings, and I always fumble through. What should I do in your opinion? I would consider myself recovered if I could work to support myself." Okay. So here's my take on working. Here's my take, Allison. Basically, I agree that work is very important. Work should be one of my goals. In the Bright Future program, in our recovery, and one of the pillars, it's under careers, volunteering, and work, and very, very important. Very important. I truly believe that everybody should try to work. Except, however, I want to do an exception here. I want to say that when you are dealing with positive symptoms, those symptoms that are added to your personality that shouldn't be there. For example, hearing voices, being paranoid, seeing lights refract and different hallucinations and delusions. These things, psychosis, being out of reality. If we are still dealing with these kind of health issues from our illness, then you know what? It's totally, 100% totally understandable why you're not seeking work. I totally get that. We need to clear up these positive symptoms. Could you imagine working? Hearing voices? I mean, if you don't suffer from this illness and you are going to work, take somebody with you for a day to follow you around and have them talking in your ear every 3 minutes or so, talking in your ear with rambling and babbling and different negative things telling you. And you tell me if you think you could work while you did that experiment while somebody was talking to your ear. Or if you're paranoid, can you imagine, can you think of how hard it would be to work, to hold down a job when you think that people are talking about you or following you or whispering about you and circumstances are against you in that state of paranoia. So, Okay, so you get where I'm coming from. If you're dealing with positive symptoms, you need to have those cleared up before you can actually be expected to work. Another barrier is sometimes the way when we get our disabilities. If we are on some kind of social assistance or disability or that, and we work, or we are scared to work because we get penalized in some way, that's understandable, but I think the system is getting better, or at least, trying to make up for that. Okay, so here we go. So Allison, you worked in the past and you want to get it done. So if you have no positive symptoms and you're dealing with schizophrenia, but you want to work, and I got to tell you, I believe that everybody should work to some capacity. It helps us financially, it helps us with our pillars, it helps us with our self-esteem, our confidence. Let's face it, our identity, for most people, our identity is for what we do and the work that we have. Very, very important. Okay, what I'm going to tell you is that what makes work not seem like work is when you can do something that you love or you have passion for. And it's very important that when we're trying to work, we need to find out what we do well. We need to know what our gifts are, what our talents are, what our strong points are, and we need to polish those. We need to enhance those. We need to build on those. And find something that we fit, that we're good for, that we do well. And I got to tell you that everybody out there, everybody does something better than anybody else. We do something better than anybody else. It's very important to realize that, but it's very important to find out what that task, what that goal, what that thing is that we do better with. And then we got to polish them and hone them. Now, so working is very, very important. What I want to say is that it's very important to realize, okay, if I'm not working, how do okay, you got to assess your gifts, your talents, and that. But there's also another factor in here that's very, very important. And not everybody has this, and everybody's different. But one of the greatest skills in order to find employment is to basically have the ability to learn. That's the key. If you have the ability to learn, it's very important to realize that the doors could open up for you in so many ways. And one of the things that you got to know whether you do have the ability to learn or not is if you're curious. A lot of times people who are curious, like to know things, have that ability to learn. Learners are curious people. Now, I got to tell you, I'm going to tell you, I'm not a learner. I don't have the skills, the development, the tools to know how to learn. I'm not a good learner. I'm not a curious person. People, all the time, you talk, you're in a conversation and something comes up and they want to know the answer to that, and, they'll Google it, or, they need to know. They love to have the answers to things. They're very curious. Me, I'm not curious. But where I make up where I'm not curious, I have certain skills that I have, that I know that I have, that I can use, that I don't have to relearn things. I'm very sociable. I know how to network, to be sociable, to present myself, to public speak, to teach, to have confidence, to make complicated things simple. I'm able to do those things. Those are some of my gifts or talents. But I'm not a curious person, and I don't like learning, and I don't know how to learn. So, Allison, my suggestion to you is if you could find something that you have passion for that uses your gifts and your talents, and if you are a learner, or if you are a curious person and you can learn things, then the doors will open right up for you. Now, again, just in recap, if you're suffering from positive symptoms, absolutely, I can totally understand that how you could not work. Okay? Been there, done that, absolutely understand that. However, work, I believe that if you're not dealing with positive symptoms, very important to work. Have that goal, because it's going to help us financially, and when we are helped financially, our quality of life really helps. I'm going to give you an analogy here. We think about people who are very depressed, and they'll go to a doctor and they'll say, oh, I'm so depressed that I need antipsychotic. Can you put me on, or antidepressants? Could you put me on antidepressants? The fact is that these people aren't depressed. They're living in despair. They're living in despair because they don't have a job, they don't have friends, they don't have proper housing, they don't have a place to go to work, and these things are despair, not depression. These symptoms aren't going to go away with antidepressants. They're life things, and they're things that will go away through better financial health. And the way you get better financial help in the real world is by working. That's just a fact. In fact, there was an orthomolecular doctor, a lot of you may have heard of him, Dr. Hoffer. And Dr. Hoffer used to give his definition of recovery. And his idea of recovery is if somebody was paying taxes, working and paying taxes, then they're recovered. That was his philosophy. And that is a perfect way to end here into my segment. My segue of recovery is when you wouldn't want to be anyone else other than who you are today. And there is life after mental illness. So have a great day. Bye-bye for now.